then we'll get unloaded, or a dock at least. So that's what we're doing. So we're going live to see if that actually works like it should. So good evening. It's Friday night. I hope you guys are in a good place, better than the place I'm at. There's my... so loud. Yes, we are working for the weekend. Maybe. One of the great things about doing the short stuff is if this load takes too long to deliver and I lose my next load, I just go home. It won't hurt. What hurts is the loss of revenue, not the deadhead miles. But you make a game plan. You make a plan B, right? Hey, Thomas. And the plan B is if I run out of hours here, I PC to where I need to go for a safe haven. And look at the load boards for tomorrow, see if anything pops up. There's a couple of companies in Springfield that do loads over the weekend, so maybe I'll do a Springfield to Indy or something like that. And we'll keep rolling, because my intention was to keep rolling. I still got 36 hours of my 70, and I start gaining back on Wednesday. Or no, I'm sorry, Monday, actually. I started on Monday this week after my restart. So, it's interesting to lose $2,000 just like that. And that's something you have to consider if you ever want to become an owner-operator. Can you handle a $2,000 hit on things that are beyond your control? So, I'm going to turn this fan on, see if you guys... So let's do some shout-outs. Is that fan too loud? Alright, we have Thor and Thunder Truckin', Daniel Adami, Candyman, Cycling Trucker, Grafton, Robert Daniel, Donnie Luke, John Reynoldson, Scott... John, why does your name sound familiar? Scott SR Logistics. You're at the dirtiest loves in Kentucky. It's saying a lot. Thomas Wilson, Oh No Miss Bill, GNC Family Trucking. Let's see, we're talking to Thor. There's one dirtier than Shepherdsville. Oh yeah, there is. We can, if you got an hour, we can probably list a few. Took an $1,800 hit this week. Yep. Fan is a smidge loud. Alright, I'll sweat. I wonder if I can move it around. My clippy thing busted, right? And I haven't replaced it yet. So, let's see. And since I'm kind of idiotic, it took me like an hour to figure out I could park in the shade. But it's either that or the loud APU, so I'm just trying to get some air moving around in here because it's hot, right? It's hot. So it's all right, Drago Death Touch, which I love that name, by the way. You're scared to step out of the truck? I'll tell you what, I was at the Joplin Pet Show last night. If you guys didn't see the live feed last night, you missed out because I deleted it so I wouldn't get any copyright strikes because of the stuff that was around. And the parking lot was just absolutely filthy. Just like filthy. And it's a shame because that used to be kind of a crown jewel in the area. But nothing lasts forever, right? So I figured I'd go live. It's Friday night. Figured we could talk about a few things. We could do an open forum since Pale Rider doesn't go live on Friday nights, which I'm still depressed about. If I had to take a vote on the things that depress me the most, one would be politics, two would be social issues that we have, and three would be Pale Rider not doing live feeds on Friday nights anymore. So but so Murphy's Law, I've been here since 10 till 3. My appointment as they say, was 4 o'clock, so I got here an hour early. I've been here an hour early before and gotten unloaded decently. So I show up and they're stacking trucks at the south lot, which meant that they're backed up. And so guy walked up to me and goes, I hope you brought your dinner because I've been here since 9 a.m. And this was at 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh boy. So, meanwhile, I'm going to lose my load I was going to pick up tonight. I'm either going to lose it or they're going to let me pick it up tomorrow, which they're supposed to get back with me. So, that's why I stay at the rest area south of there all the time. Hey Jason, what's up? Look, the best spot at the Petro in Joplin is the lot in front of the shop, because you can use their bathroom, or the strip of trucks in front of the fuel islands. You know, that's a good spot. But what I did is I parked on the very corner that used to be where you had to play Frogger to walk from the building back to your truck. But now they've got that sectioned off because they redone the entrance to another area, which is kind of tight, by the way. So if you guys don't know that you have a trailer behind you and you don't know how to stay in the lines, don't go to the Petro in Joplin, Missouri, because that's very critical. That's a very important feature to remember as you go in and out of that place. I drove to work with Grams every morning last week and all but Monday. Awesome. Excellent. And you'll get more comfortable with it as time goes on. I promise you. My pickup is a block away. I thought I would chance the reviews, but rest area was my second option. We're asking about, oh, good evening, Clyde. Hey, Steve, my oldest says hi to Uncle Snorelord. Hello, oldest. How's it going? Rick, what's good? What's good is, well, this Carbolicious company is failing me right now. That's what you get. That's what you get for putting faith in Carbolicious. I'm waiting for them to offer, hey, you want a free 12-pack of our soda as a reward for waiting 8 hours to unload? No, I don't. I'll take a case of water, though. I can always use that. Greg is in the house, Mitney Lion. You're picking up the street right into the industrial park door. So, anyways, we went live to try this Murphy's Law, and so far it's not working. I figured the minute I go live, we'd have a phone call. But, a lot of things going on. So, Jeff earlier talked about the Tesla truck guy. How that whole truck was a fraud. So imagine all those investors and the people that ordered those trucks, pre-ordered those trucks. That's why I don't believe in pre-ordering. You know, you got a lot of these, not GoFundMe, but startup, you know, crowdsourcing things. And they're like, hey, give me money to help develop this product, and you know, you'll be the first to get it. You know, and then nothing ever happens. There was a prominent YouTuber that took donations for an app several years ago. I don't know if you guys that's probably beyond your, you know, those old school YouTubers know what I'm talking about. I think he ended up giving all that cash back, but still, I mean, you know, people start these crowdsourcing things and nothing ever comes of it. So So apparently Tesla's, that Nikola truck or whatever, is no different. So 2 more days till blast off. And so you got that, and then I there's an article from Yahoo Finance that's showing all the different corporations and companies and hospital systems that are requiring the vaccine. So while I think the government might avoid the whole forcing it, mandating it by force, you're going to be coerced by the corporations, and eventually, to go grocery store or something like that, or even to get your license renewed or a passport, you might need it. So for those of you who are avoiding getting the big V, it's going to get harder and harder. So Nikola, it was Nikola. I didn't realize there was a difference. Because again, I'm not the greatest. So Charles, are you okay? What's happening with Charles? You've been disconnected, Chucky, hopefully for good reason. Hi, Snorelord. So Coach went live last night. I asked him why GP doesn't pay for a 34-hour reset when the company wants you to stay out 2 to 3 weeks on the road. Thoughts? Yeah, I've got some thoughts on that. So the only time, and that's not GP Transco, that's kind of across the board. If there's a company that does something different, kudos to them. But across the board, the only time that a company is going to pay you for time that you're sitting in the truck not working is if you're on layover or detention. If you need a 34-hour because of your hours, if you need a restart, they're not going to pay for that. If you are under a load that you have plenty of hours for, but most loads pick up on Friday, don't deliver till Monday. So unless it's a 1,000-mile run, you're going to be sitting at some point. They want you to get a restart. They're not going to pay for that. Now, some companies' remedy to that is they'll do like a minimum per day. So if I had to work for a company that, and again, if depends on how they're paying their company drivers. Some company drivers are paid percentage, and some company drivers are paid a minimum, like you get so much per day, and then after so many miles you get this much. And what that does is it makes it to where you're not discouraged to, if you're forced doing short haul for a week, because short haul loads do pay pretty good, rate per mile wise. So I wouldn't work for any company that mandates that you have to be out for 3 weeks at a time regardless, because that shows a lack of flexibility. However, from a carrier's perspective, they want that truck to make money, and if the load that you're on just happens to have a couple extra days because it's a weekend run, then you have to decide whether you're willing to put up with that. The fact that they don't pay that, that's not a GP Transco only thing. That's a lot. 90% of the companies are like that. So, especially if you don't have any hours. So, yep, just took the week off for church camp. Good deal. Nittany Lion says it didn't do too well for that guy. Dave says not happening. Nikola. Run that Tesla truck in the Northeast for a winter and two, see how it does, right? Hauling nuclear for government pays 34 hours. Drivers for movies are paid 34. Right. So there's some divisions of trucking that do pay for that downtime, like tours, trade shows. If it's a military order or something like that where they need the security, things of that nature. But a typical company driver, forget it. In fact, most companies, what they try to do is they try to only run you 9 hours a day, so you never need a restart. But the way loads are, unless you got some drop and hook options or whatever, the way loads are, you're going to end up getting a restart anyways. And most of the time, if I do a restart on the road in my career, it's not because I was out of hours, it's because just that was the nature of the load. Now, there was one time I was still on paper that I realized that I didn't recap it right, and my dispatcher called me and goes, hey, you need a restart, so we're going to call the customer and you're going to be a day late on this load. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. And I had to take a restart in Rollins, Wyoming. Do you know what's in Rollins, Wyoming? Nothing. I ended up buying a TV and buying like 5 DVDs and watching a lot of church channels. For some reason, the people with the strongest TV signals are church channels, Hispanic channels, and PBS. So LTL companies pay for 34 when resets when you volunteer, right? But that is not the norm. So my experience with LTL companies is minimal at best, and so again, that's why you want to choose the right company if that's going to be an issue for you. You didn't make it? The federal government cannot force any U.S. citizen to get the Pope. It is written in the law, and there will also be some class action lawsuits coming down the pike from workers against companies too. That is true, but they're going to do it a different way. If you guys follow the Viking guy, Bjorn Bull Hansen, he did a video where there's these narratives on the news that are basically making the unV'd look like the bad guys. So the court of public narrative will decide that. Get a bicycle or a pogo stick on your 34, you can do something. Can't sue over the backs, OSHA says. That's true. All right, so that is a good idea, Thor. And there was a point where I was following this blog with a B. This guy drove for Crete, and he would like, this is before the Ubers or whatever, he would grab a cab and go somewhere for 34. He would get a hotel room one night, or he would make most of his 34s. And it's all perspective, right? It's all perspective. You know, if you know, 34s are a great time for me to catch up on paperwork. You know, if I do a 34 in the right spot, like one time I did a break and was able to go play with tools, and freedom pills with a friend of mine. Oh, hold on a second. All right, we're back. Normally my business phone is what I deal with the brokers, but for some reason, I blame Jeff. They gave him the wrong phone number, and that's the phone I'm going live with. So, yeah, I'm back. I am back. I'm back and back. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Sorry about that. Obviously, watching them church channels didn't change you at all. Oh, what change do you need, Daniel? What change do you mean? When you're doing a 34 on the road, you're taking care of the equipment. Therefore, you should get paid for that. Again, that's all perspective of you and the company. You know, so you can't sue the government. That's true. I was thinking about ordering a water pump just so I would have one if mine broke. If you think it's about to go out, then it might be wise, and if you could afford it, because parts are going to become even scarcer. Yeah, some hospital, the employees are suing, but look, it's going to be like playing whack-a-mole. Eventually, you're going to be, it's going to be hard to avoid. I'm not saying give up. I'm just saying that it's going to get harder and harder. The PCR test can't even differentiate between the flu and COVID. Barely any test can tell the difference between COVID and Delta. All the numbers are made up. This is made up pandemic. So it's tough to talk about that because I don't want to get canceled by YouTube, right? But what's this guy? That dude's in a hurry. Follow the money. Pfizer, profited billions this year because of the vaccine. Follow the money. So it's a narrative because, you can sit there, well, the narrative is population control. The narrative is this. How about the narrative just be profit? How about that? And so a lot of corporations might be, hey, you know what? We get special incentives if we get the stick, right? Either way, it's a crap show, right? Why are you repainting the truck, Thomas? I don't know how long a water pump's supposed to last. Well, 2022 is coming up and we need to kick out all the politicians. Yeah, I agree with you, Robert. Daniel Dami, not very funny. Okay, what did Daniel... Oh, about the church. You had an accident, Thomas? What are you doing? Talking about your car or your, Oh, your truck. Wow, okay. Term limits. Yeah, I agree with term limits for sure. I've been watching this World War II stuff, and was it Eisenhower that was the longest running president? It was before term limits for the president. Your beautiful red truck. What did you do? Pfizer gets paid by the government as long as it's authorized for emergency use. Once it's approved, the government quits paying for it, and health insurance companies got to pick up the tab. Money, money, money. I should be upset at Nano for the stereotype. Oh, well. It's look, again, I've said this over and over for the last 2 years. You can't control what's going on around you. You can only control how you react to it. And you can't trust the news source on either side. You can't trust, unless you're physically there seeing things, you don't even know what the truth is right now. And that should be the thing that scares all of you the most. Hell, a place like New York could be being bombed right now and you wouldn't know about it. Trucking is becoming an old man sport. All the youngsters want to be YouTube influencers. Thoughts? Jim, that's exactly what's going on. You know, I listened to this book, How to Start a YouTube Channel, and I figured I might learn something new. But I didn't really. But it's geared towards, like, you're sitting there at home, you're like, you know what? I want to make money on YouTube. And it tells you everything you need to do, except for the most important thing, which is content. It does talk about how do you find your content, find your passion, blah, 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 blah. But that's hard to build up, you know? So you're either starting a YouTube channel hoping that Google will pay you enough, or you make money through affiliates or through sponsorships, you know, or endorsements, you know, that kind of thing. Which I don't fault anybody for doing. I would like to have a coffee endorsement, a beard product endorsement. And I've thought about doing the Amazon thing, but I don't order anything from Amazon very much. So, I don't know how much revenue that really generates, but my content sucks too. I mean, I do these live feeds. I haven't done a GoPro video in a while, which those don't get a lot of views. I think you guys like this back and forth, you know, banter, you know, and YouTube doesn't like live feeds for the most part, unless there's a bunch of super chats. Then they're making money, and then they're like, oh yeah, super chat it up, dude. So what do people do? Like, well, cash out me instead. So roll back and crunch my front. That sucks, Thomas. But everybody wants to be influencer. Watch TikTok and Instagram, you know, Facebook. It's all influencers. How many subscribers do you need to make a decent living? Well, Jacob B., it depends. So I think that Ike Stevens was at over 90,000 before he was able to officially get off the road. It just depends on the AdSense and how you're generating the revenue. So I guess it just depends on your needs. If you need $1,000 a month to survive, you know, that would give you more time to kind of dedicate that time. But I average about $60 a month. That's not very high. And maybe 100 if I have some generous people on Super Chat, which I don't beg for Super Chats. Do I appreciate them? Absolutely, but I don't sit there and like, hey, come on, give me money, you know. Now, I will say this though, I did put my Cash App on the Red Chicken video, because Red Chicken wants money. He's a greedy bastard. So bikini girls and puppies are the only thing you need to hit it big on YouTube. I don't monetize, I do it just for something to do. You know, and look, and I get that. I was talking to a YouTuber, and he said, I'm never going to monetize, right? And I told him, well, number one, if you have a message that you want to put out there, you need to monetize, because YouTube's like, hey, this guy wants to make money, so we're going to push his video more. So, but I understand your decision, Greybig, and because of that, you're not under the same rules that I am. Dang, Thomas, look at you. See, now I'm going to make $100 this month. Thank you, Thomas. Well, 70. Thank you, Thomas, very much. Is the 660 less powerful than a 680? No, it's all in the motor. The only differences between a 60 and an 80 is the aerodynamics. Depends on the engine, right? Yes, they are the best, Thomas. I dislike Goodyear, never had any good luck with them. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate you. You've always been generous. I appreciate you. The channel I work on has 104,000 subs just streaming. In Super Chats, he makes around $6K a month plus merch sales. That is Tim Cass IRL is like that. People, his chat is going so much that in order to get your comment read, you have to super chat. And they take like the last half hour of the show to do the super chats. And I'm telling you, guy makes like at least $2,000 or $3,000 a night, Monday through Friday. So Next Gen, what's up? And you know, and here's the deal. There's a few changes for the better that I want to make to the channel, but I'm kind of in this limbo right now because I'm trying to play catch up from my time off, which by the way, we're not in the red, so that's good. I was catching up my numbers, and miraculously we're not in the red. So yeah, and the components, Kenny, the steering radius is quicker on a 680. The cab comfort level is better on a 680. There's more room inside. I hated my 660 was smooth going down the road, but I hated it in tight spots, and I hated it, the steering on it, and I hated the cab room. So that's why I don't know if I would ever buy a W900, because it's practically the same thing in the inside. If I did, I would get the Studio, the extra bigger sleeper. What you're doing is the best right now. I appreciate that. Yeah, the 680 and 660 are just brand, not the power. Has anyone ever delivered to the Lowe's DC in Mount Vernon, Texas? Broker said it could take up to 48 hours after dropping trailer. Donnie Luke, most of the time, a lot of loads are drop trailer loads there. So when they say might, that's how the load was booked. I've only delivered there with Schneider, and it was a drop. So to do a live unload, yeah. And then the other thing is, I would not buy fuel at that Love's if you can help it. There's a Love's right next to that. It's very tight, number one. But number two, I know so many trucks that have gotten bad fuel out of that place. A lot of water. So when are you going to put the rubber duck on the hood of your truck? The only way I'll put that on the hood of a truck is if I buy a big hooded truck, which, you know, is not out of the possibility. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I've got at least probably, unless I get out of the truck within the next year, I'm probably looking at possibly another truck in my future to finish out my career, and it'll be the last truck. But if I can make this the last truck, that would be great. Been to others that normally take 2 to 4 hours, depending on location. Yeah, so evidently they might have booked the load as a drop trailer. So like you can pick up, like they make those gas tanks, the plastic red ones that you walk of shame on the highway because you ran out of gas with, or you fill up your lawnmower with. Those are usually drop trailer loads. I can't tell you like, oh, here's a load coming out of Miami, Oklahoma, going to Columbus for 20 or $4 grand. Yeah, it's a 7-day drop because they unload one and then they go have lunch and then they unload another, and or they take them as needed, so they're using your trailer for storage. Home Depot works the same way too. I work for a company based near them, and I see a lot of their new drivers every time I come to one of their yards down Nashville. You can still put Hawks on your hood. I've seen many trucks with the hood slanted down and Hawks on them. Yeah, but then I'm drilling into the hood, so, you know, I want to take pride in my ride. I need to get my rear wheels polished. The truck needs a bath. I almost did that yesterday, but I didn't. And, but I'm not the guy that buys a ton of chrome because I like it, don't get me wrong, but trucks are so temporary a lot of times, you know. It's like I put bling on a truck only to turn it in later. Just zip tie red chicken. to the hood. Renter protection is coming to an end. Thoughts? I don't know. I mean, it's... Tell you what, we have a second house that we thought about renting. And we were going to rent it to a family member just to break even on the house. Eventually we're going to move into the house. So it was perfect because they were going to live there while they were building their house on the property that they just bought. However, they at the last minute decided not to do that. So we had a decision to make. So we had some money set aside to pay the house payment for a few months. And then once they passed the law or whatever that said that you can't, as a landowner, can't evict people, and homes can't be repossessed, we left it empty because we didn't want to lose the ability to kick someone out of the house if they're living there for free. So we did not take that risk. Another small micro strategy to kill small businesses. So now that could easily flood the housing market pretty quickly, and just like supply and demand, it's going to make home selling rates go down. Can I move furniture if some family would pay you? I'm not sure the legalities of that. Home movers, or bed buggers as they're known in the industry, have special permissions and permits. So it just depends. It's not practical to hire my truck to move your furniture because I can't go into all the areas, and you would need a hell of a ramp to get into the truck. So now there was one load I did as a company driver where I moved the kiosk that's in the middle of the mall, and that should have been on a moving van, but they put it in my truck, and I had to, and every now and then you'll get a load of furniture or slot machines, so you got to wrap blankets around. Logistics, and I wanted to get into that, but I don't see a whole lot of it in the spot market, so I didn't invest in that, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to buy a trailer, because I wanted to get E-tracks, I wanted to get toolboxes, I wanted to get ramps, so I could do stuff like that, trade shows and furniture and slot machines, because there's some money in that. But I never see it. United, Van Lines, Landstar, and FedEx have that kind of stuff nipped in the bud. They got the stranglehold on that. Did they put some red balls on that chicken? I think it'll happen because the states can't afford it anymore. Just like the extra unemployment, the federal government will very suddenly. And anytime you're getting paid, you have to do it on duty, right? Yeah, and look, when my family moved from Phoenix to Springfield, we used my dad's truck. We drove the car in the truck. We found the outdoor ramp, put it up in there. You had to get out of the car like Dukes of Hazzard style, but that was back in the mid-'80s, so we had to find a dock in Springfield. I think we ended up going to Prime or a place near Prime to get the car out of the trailer. And then once we found the house that we wanted, then, we drove the truck to it. But it made it very hard to load because of the height of the trailer. All I know is my house rented through a management company, and I'm still paying property tax. Tenants still living free. You should be paying property tax if you're renting. That's not right, first class. I mean, I guess it would depend on the state, but... Can you do a quick review analysis on the beard wash you purchased? I use Beard Guys. I found that several months ago, and I use it. It smells good, which I know that's a thing for you next gen. And it's perfect. There's my review. If Beard Guys wants to endorse me, I'd be happy to do it because I believe in the product. Are flatbed trailers cheaper than dry vans? I don't know. I've never priced a flatbed. Sometimes flatbed pays better than dry van. Sometimes. Robert Daniel, I agree with that statement. You still, like, if I was to do that for a family, as long as Jeff was okay with it, I just create a bill of lading and I would do it. But you're better off to have professionals do it, you know, to that nature, right? I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Thomas. Oh, you own the house. Okay, I get it. Yeah, so we take the hit. Essentially, we're as soon as the youngest graduates high school in Springfield, we're out. And when we sell the house in Springfield, if the market hasn't crashed or we're not in nuclear war or something, then we'll make a profit, and that profit will pay for the other house. So we should be mortgage free within 2 years. And that's why real estate can be a decent investment. But you got to do it right, and you got to have patience. And for those of you who are all about the physical ownership of something, there you go. Sometimes the professionals aren't very professional. I agree. Well, I just moved my mom to New York, and me and my sisters did all the work, and my wife, and my daughter, and my son. Our family did all the work, right? I rented the blankets. I rented the truck. I originally was going to use my truck, but I'm so glad I didn't. And it didn't take rocket science to figure it out. Am I planning on clean shaving? No. My wife would smack me upside the head if I shaved. Because you guys may not believe this, but I'm going to shock you with this, okay? Underneath all this is not a thing of beauty. Okay, the beard hides a lot of, flaws in myself. Okay, so it's a distraction. It's a distraction. So there's now, if crap hits the fan, I'm in a combat situation, yes, I'll have to shave it, because it'd be real easy in a fight to yank my beard and do bad things. About 2.5 years, Diesel bro. Turkey neck? I don't think I got turkey neck. It's hard to tell. I was gonna, James Best wants people to take pictures of the shirts, after he gives them to you, and I thought about it, and I'm gonna send him a picture, and the beard hides the entire logo of the shirt. See, a lot of people don't want me to shave. And why would I shave the beard off only to have a fake one? And there's 2 reasons why I have a beard. Number 1 is for my wife. Happy wife, happy life, right? Number 2, it's for my Halloween costume. From here on out, for the rest of my life, I'm going to go as Gandalf the Grey for Halloween. Hey John, what's up? Get a tan. Why should I be old and wrinkly? Look, when I first moved to Springfield, it was September, and I came from Phoenix, right? And Phoenix, everybody's tan because you're always outside or whatever. Well, come wintertime, I was kind of in an uppity school, right? All these teenage girls had white lines around their eyes because they were all going to the tanning booth. So they'd have this dark brown tan like they just got out of Hawaii in January in middle of Missouri. And every now and then I find one of them gals on Facebook, and time has not been kind to them with the wrinkles. So yeah, go ahead, tan it up, and see what you don't look like in 20 years. What would you do if one of your kids chopped off your beard while you were sleeping? I don't know. My kids wouldn't do that. The top half would be tan, the bottom half would be white. That's true. Yeah, they do. It looked like an old leather shoe. I've never understood sun tanning. You know, I've never understood. You know, and I've had skin cancer before. So when I was a teenager, they had to cut a mole off my arm. He said, "Yeah, we're probably good. We cut this off." So sunbathing just is beyond me. You know, I don't think color matters to a woman looking good, in my opinion. So. Lost a great beard, Dusty Hill. That's true. The bass player is ZZ Top, and then we also lost the original drummer of Slipknot, which is kind of connected to the Springfield metal scene, and Mike Howe, the singer of Metal Church, which he wasn't the singer when we got to open up for him, but he was still the singer of the best era of Metal Church, in my opinion. And they found out today that he had committed suicide. I have braided it. The wife usually has to do that. You need to stop in Springfield and say hello. Well, guys, I'm going to sleep. Be careful, trailer, truck, and Steve. When truck goes in the body shop, I'm getting motor coach out of the storage and go around the country for the rest of the summer. Thomas, you tell me when and where you're going to be in Springfield, and I'll be there. I'll make it happen. You know me, man. I can make it happen. I got complete control of my schedule, except for crap like this. The broker called and said, well, we don't know if, and here's plan B, right? We don't know if they'll take you tomorrow, so if you don't hear from us, go that way anyways, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. Now, if that was 70 miles the wrong direction towards the house, I would tell them that ain't gonna work, just take me off the load. But since it's on the way home, I might as well try. Who do you think is the grandfather of metal of all kinds? That is a loaded question. Because it's easy to say Black Sabbath, right? But when you look at the precursors to Black Sabbath, you have bands like like Deep Purple, the Kinks, Blue Cheer, Tank. When you look at groups like that, they were kind of precursors. And then there was, a lot of people don't realize, there was another band called Black Sabbath when Black Sabbath was originally called Earth. That was kind of the same lines, but they were more satanic. You know, a lot of people think that Black Sabbath is a satanic band, and they're not. They're a Christian. They're not a Christian band, but they're a God-fearing band. The song Black Sabbath is about running from Satan, you know. So I would probably say Tony Iommi, you know, with the influence of the bands that I mentioned, plus Jimi Hendrix, stuff like that. So I used to wear my caps backwards. I would go into certain bars and I was told I couldn't do that because it was a gang thing, but I got over that stage. Yes, I was. I owned Afterburner and the one before that. The one with the car and the one with the spaceship. I wasn't really familiar with the older stuff, and I know the newer stuff, they kind of went back to their original form, but I haven't listened to any of it. But I do appreciate ZZ Top. Lemmy from Motorhead is you know, Lemmy is more of the godfather of speed metal, in my opinion. You know, speed and death metal, because, you know, Motorhead was an influence to Metallica, but they were the first ones to kind of just get up there and play as fast as they can. They didn't care about anything. I think, if I remember correctly, Lemmy was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix. That's how old he was. So it's a matter of opinion, it's a matter of perception, what you think heavy metal is. You talk to a guy that listens to blast beat death metal, and he doesn't even consider Iron Maiden a heavy metal band, you know. It just, you know, but then, you know, Black Sabbath sounds like acid rock to, you know, person that listens to nothing but 50s and 60s music. So, you know, there's that. Are the Osbournes Christians? Who knows? But After Forever is pretty much a Christian song. Listen to the lyrics of After Forever by Black Sabbath and tell me that's not a Christian song. All right, Thomas, have a good night. Thank you for the money. I appreciate you. There's my detention pay for this load, so thank you. I appreciate that. Do I like Ozzy Sabbath or Dio Sabbath? Oh, man. I'm more familiar with Ozzy Sabbath in a live lineup. Dio all the way. That's a tough one. I think they're both equal in their own rights. I know that's kind of a fence-sitting, you know, answer, but live, definitely Dio, because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the last 20 years of Ozzy Osbourne, he's got a lot of effects on his vocals. He layers everything too, and that layering, I've done layering on my clean vocals, right? And it's not hard to do, but it gives you a fuller sound. And then, you know, you got all these gadgets in the studio that, you know, they got pitch control and all that, you know, auto tune or whatever. And so when you listen to a lot of Black Sabbath Ozzy era live sets, it's kind of off. You know, we had a chance to go see Black Sabbath on their reunion tour. Well, the reunion minus the drummer. And I didn't want to pay the extraordinary amount of money they wanted to hear Ozzy sing bad. And so a couple of friends of mine went, and they did some live feeds on Facebook or whatever, and it was exactly how I thought. And I told my wife, I said, I'm so glad that we didn't go, because it would have been a big waste of money. I would have been ticked off. So they did a lot of blues metal. Billy Gibbons, awesome guitar player. I agree. I heard an interesting interview with the guys at ZZ Top on Howard Stern, and they actually, when they toured, they had separate buses. They liked each other, but they said that's been the secret to our longevity, because they've been around for a long time, is that they take separate buses. It costs more, but, you know, but they put on a killer show. Marilyn Manson, Daniel Adami, when he first came out, I despised it. I absolutely loathed it, because I'm not a gimmick metal kind of guy. Gimmick metal is reserved for like King Diamond, Merciful Fate, stuff like that. So Marilyn Manson comes out. It's basically industrial. It was okay. After hearing some interviews with him, you know, I can appreciate the music now. Marilyn Manson's music is perfect for a strip joint. Beyond that, I don't own any of the CDs or anything like that. I don't seek out any music. I don't get on Spotify. I'm like, I think I'm in the mood for Marilyn Manson. But I don't despise it either, so. Heaven and Hell is good. I'm not sure which song you speak of, Kenny. After Metallica sold out with the Black Album, I stuck with Pantera and Slayer, best bands ever. Yeah, I mean, look, Metallica will never go back to Master of Puppets, but Death Magnetic and Hardwired are actually, you know, they actually have their moments. And, you know, and Saint Anger, if that had some decent production, there's some bangers on that too. So my perspective of Metallica is a little bit different. But you are right, Pantera and Slayer's popularity went through the roof when the Black Album came out. Because every thrash band at that time from the Bay Area, like well, not Anthrax, but like Exodus and Death Angel and all those second generation thrash bands, they all attempted the Black Album and failed miserably. Labels were picking them up and were like, holy crap, there's only one Metallica, people. But I do not like the Bob Rockisms of newer Metallica. Anthrax kind of went through a phase too. They came out with the Sound of White Noise, which was their Black Album version. It was even on Electro Records, but it was still heavier than the Bob Rockisms that the Black Album was. But I'm convinced that if you go and watch the documentary of how they made the Black Album, if you had a different producer, if you had the Master of Puppets producer in there, it would have been a much different album. But they wanted to capitalize and they figured out the guy that can commercialize thrash metal, and he did it, you know, and it changed kind of the whole landscape forever. I've seen Anthrax 3 times. Excellent band. I saw them in the classic era, I saw them in the newer era, and I saw them in their reunion era. I disagree with that, Rick. That was the last true metal album as far as like before grunge really crept in. Load and Reload was more of an AC/DC bluesy kind of thing with a weird image thing that they did. But no, I think it was like the last non-grunge album of the 90s. You know, like I remember James Hetfield said that the riffs in Sabbath True were actually written during Master of Puppets, but they had too many songs with those kind of things. And if you look, some of the songs on there are great headbanging songs until they come to the chorus, and that's where Bob Rock came in. Okay, now we need the catchy chorus. So, you know, and then Enter Sandman, you know, whatever. They got lazy. They got tired of doing these 15-minute long epics, and they had to do something different. Yes, I do know they're from New York City. Yes, I agree with you, Next Gen. I owned Nevermind, which when it came out, it was okay. A band I was in was gonna cover a song off of Bleach called something Creep. I forget the name of the song. Invisible Creep or Invincible Creep, I don't know. But that, Nevermind, and Soundgarden's album Loud Love, Louder Than Love, those are the only 2 grunge albums. Well, Alice in Chains. I saw Alice in Chains play when they first came out, and their album was good, but once the radio got a hold of Man in the Box, I got sick of it. Probably Probably LVC. My taste in older thrash is different than most people's, though. I didn't mind the Black Album. Hell, I didn't even mind. The only album that I can't really listen to all the way through is Reload. I hate Reload. There's like one good song on Reload. One or two songs, and that's it. My only issue with the Black Album at this point is all the songs got overplayed to death, with the exception of Wolf and Man and Through the Never. And so there's never a time where I'm going to bust out the Black Album and listen to it on my record player because I'm just so sick of all the songs. Oh, I'm not really a big fan of Enter Sandman. John says Pantera does not get enough credit on Phil's voice. Sorry, I was laughing. It's showing 9 on this, but it shows 31 in the crowd. I figured no one wants to hear about my music opinions, but there's an earlier album called Power Metal, and Phil was going for the whole Rob Halford thing. But I do know that once they got to Far Beyond Driven, he couldn't do that live anymore, because I saw him on that tour, and he definitely can't do that. Cemetery Gates was a struggle. It hurt. It hurt to listen to it. And I'm not really a big fan of some bands doing the high-pitched stuff. I like Halford, I like Forbidden, I like, Halloween and Flotsam that did it back in the day, but for Pantera, my favorite album by them is Far Beyond Driven. That's the only one I own, actually. Well, I say that, but my wife might own a couple different ones, too. And here's an interesting tidbit a lot of people don't know. So, from the same area, there was 2 other bands. One was Crowbar, and the other one was X-Hoarder. X-Hoarder came out in the death metal scene, and their second album was more of a mid-tempo Pantera kind of thing. Interestingly enough, it was X-Hoarder, the singer of X-Hoarder, who convinced Pantera to go in the thrash direction versus the power metal direction that they were currently in. So you can thank X-Hoarder for a lot of Pantera's modern sound. A lot of people don't know that. What I loved is when Metallica were fighting with all the fruity hair bands. That was great. Yep. Well, looks like we're going to get an 8-hour sleeper berth here. Prong was cool. I have 2 of their albums, but there's one that predates the 2 that were released. It's actually more of it's an underground cassette. I forget what it's called. No, that's gonna bug me now. Let me look it up here. And let's look at discography, albums. Force Fed. If you can find Force Fed, that's a rare album. I've got that on cassette. They were a completely different band, and then they came out with Beg to Differ. That was their kind of their breakout album. That's when I bought their album. And then Prove You Wrong was kind of their commercial with Snap Your Finger, Snap Your Neck. So my only issue with Prong is their sound wasn't like, the guitar sound was kind of dry to me. I'm kind of picky about guitar sound. Back in the day, I had the Black Sabbath double cassette. One side was Paranoid, the other side was Heaven and Hell. Listen to that for hours on end without changing cassettes. Which Metallica do you like to line up with? Megadeth guitarist or the one they got now? Oh, I don't know. I mean, they only put out a demo version of Kill 'Em All with Dave Mustaine. I'm not a big Dave Mustaine fan. Dave Mustaine is a more technical player than Kirk Hammett, but if Kirk Hammett would just lay off the whammy, or the not the whammy, the wah pedal, you know, like his, you know, Kirk Hammett's peak was Injustice for All. Now Dave Mustaine still shreds. I mean, don't get me wrong, and there's a few Megadeth albums I do like, but I'm more of the Metallica guy because James Hetfield and the rhythms that he writes. Just finished a 10-hour Grafton, getting unloaded. I'm on hour 6 of being in the sleeper right now. I like Clutch. I got to see them live, and what's funny is I snubbed the singer accidentally. Didn't realize it. So they were playing in Springfield, and we were there to see Life of Agony. They were opening up. And Clutch was headlining, and you know, so we're sitting outside. I wasn't familiar with Clutch, and you know, a bunch of kids, you know, teenagers were out there, you know, and this homeless looking dude in a flannel shirt walks on me. He goes, "Hey man, you got a pen or something?" I'm like, no, you know, figure he was a homeless dude, right? Turns out he was the singer of Clutch, and he was wanting to give an autograph to these teenagers. So I felt bad. I didn't know that until they went on stage. Like, hey, that's the homeless guy, you know. But after I saw them live, I really appreciated them, so I started buying their albums, and I do like Clutch. I don't own everything they have, but when I'm in a kind of a weird, not weird, but if I'm in a certain mood, I'll put on some Clutch. Clutch is excellent driving music when you don't want to think about it. And they're an improv band too. You catch them live, they'll do a 20-minute jam, and it's just off the top of their head. Nothing witty. Hey, Rat was cool, but the rest, I don't think so. Hair bands had some horrible music. The only hair bands I liked early Rat. I did own, I think I still do own a Winger album. But the main hair bands I like was Stryper, because they're kind of heavier than most hair bands if you get away from their ballads. Lion, not White Lion, Lion, but I saw White Lion, and Vito Bratta is an excellent guitar player. Motley Crew. Again, earlier Motley Crue, not that Theater of Pain stuff. Trying to think. I went through a hair band phase, but not for very long. I despise Aerosmith. You can send me into a James Best kind of rant with Aerosmith. I think I own the Whitesnake album, Guns N' Roses. I had Appetite for Destruction, which I don't know if you consider them a hair band or not. They were kind of in the same era though. Poison, Dumb. Let's see. Great White. I own Once Bitten, but I hated Twice Shy. And then after they killed those hundreds of people in the club, you know, I don't like them anymore. And let's see what else. I like Steel Panther. I like 3 songs by Aerosmith. I like King of Queens, Dream On. The first 1,000 times I liked it. That's it. Twisted Sister, that's the only one I can't think of. Stay Hungry is one of my favorite albums of all time. The lyrics to the song Stay Hungry is like, that should get your blood flowing. You haven't missed much. I think Chris Cornell is the greatest rocker of all time. Thoughts? I like Louder Than Love. That album is pretty much a doom metal album. It's not really a grunge album to me. His vocals on that album, especially the song Loud Love. Loud Love is one of my favorite songs of all time. Bad Motorfinger is a good album. I wasn't really too keen on a lot of their commercial stuff though. But that's only because it's overplayed so much on the radio, not because I had an issue with it. But he is a good singer. Dokken, yes, that's another one that was good. I have Beast from the East is a great live album, but I had Back for the Attack. That's a great album. And I believe I've got Tooth and Nail or Under Lock and Key. I can't remember which ones. And the Discogs database is on the phone that we're live with. Jeff, what's up? So Jeff, so far, they're trying to reschedule tonight's load for tomorrow. And I'm still sitting here at the shipper. I've communicated with the broker about this load. They actually called me, and detention has started. So, so I'll turn in the bills if I ever get unloaded. But I'll put in the notes that we're waiting on detention. So however you want to approach that. Oh, I better put a charger on this phone. This is the phone that this beverage place is going to call me on. Stove. I need a longer cord. What are you thinking LVC for? What did he do? But grandkids say LVC is bussin', untold. That means you're awesome. Them kids in that language, I swear. But my musical tastes are kind of weird, guys. I mean, yeah, I'm a metalhead and all that, but bands that you would think I would like, I don't. The bands that you don't think I would like, I do. And I think you guys would be shocked at what I listen to a lot here these days. Korn was always an interesting band to me because they had melodies and heavy metal, very commercial, but it sounded good. Diesel fan, here's my thing with Korn, right? Megadeth, I got to see Megadeth, well, kinda. I'd seen Megadeth on the Clash Titans tour, which was like the best, one of the best live shows I've ever been to. That had Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer, and Alice in Chains opening. And Megadeth put on a killer show. They were the headliners that night. And later on, they would tour back in '97, I think. And they toured with Flotsam and Jetsam, Fear Factory, and Korn. Now, Fear Factory and Flotsam are two of my favorite bands, especially back then. And I've been wanting to see Flotsam live. I've seen Fear Factory before. So I didn't know anything about Korn at all. Other than a song that I heard on the radio, I was not impressed, right? They came out, and they were kind of the anti-metal metal band. They were like, oh, long hair and black shirts? No, we're going to wear weird hairdos, braids, and jumpsuits, right? And they had this stance where they like hunched over like hunchbacks, you know, while they played their instruments. I was so annoyed that me and a friend of mine left. We didn't even stay for Megadeth. That's how annoyed I was. Now, at that time, Korn was still new. They were only touring for their first album. And the deal with them is, as they got popular, they became a major influencer on the new metal bands that were coming out. All the Pantera wannabes were now Korn wannabes. And so it wasn't until the last 5 years that I've learned to appreciate their music. Because when I took their image out, I actually liked some of the songs. But at that time, they were the furthest thing from metal, but capitalized on the metal scene, it offended me. Because I'm a sensitive bastard, so, you know. Give us that rant about Aerosmith. TJ Jones, what's up? Let's see. Yeah, I received the Anthrax, yep. Queensryche, the lead singer, is one of the best singers. Used to be. Operation Mindcrime is one of my favorite albums of all time. However, everything after that was just crap. And as Jeff Tate's head got bigger and bigger and bigger, he became very hard to work with. So the band disbanded. And so I got to see Queensryche open up for Halford and Iron Maiden back in the Brave New World tour. And they played 2 songs off of Mindcrime, and I couldn't even recognize them. Because Jeff Tate and the drummer are the only ones originally left. Chris DeGarmo is what makes old Queensryche Queensryche. Now, with that being said, the newest singer of Queensryche is really good. And the newest Queensryche album is actually pretty good. But Mindcrime is, you'll never top that in their camp. You need to let all that frustration out. So I remember I didn't even know about Aerosmith, right? Until this will date me a little bit. So Run DMC came out with their version of Walk This Way. I had no idea it was a cover. And so, and the first impression of Run DMC was on MTV, right? Didn't hear it on the radio or whatever. And my immediate thought of seeing Steven Tyler was, who is this guy that's trying too hard to look like Mick Jagger? It was a Mick Jagger reject. And then someone goes, dude, that's the singer of Aerosmith. I'm like, who? You know, Dream On. Oh, yeah, I kind of like that song. Oh. Well, this kind of sucks. Run DMC, they're better than this. And I like Run DMC, believe it or not. One of 3 rap albums I actually enjoyed. I had a Fat Boys tape, I had a Run DMC tape, and I had an LL Cool J tape, I think. Danzig's, I do like Danzig, except for the newer stuff. The first 4 albums are really good. The thing with Danzig was interesting because, again, I didn't know Danzig's history with the Misfits, right? And my first impression was on MTV with the song Mother. I thought it was interesting. And John Christ, he's a big BC Rich guy, which is a guitar. And I'm a big BC Rich guy. But they had like this AC/DC sound. So it was weird because all my thrash and death metal friends loved Danzig. So I bought the self-titled album and thinking, well, this sounds like AC/DC. But one of my favorite songs, Don't Speak, is on, I think, Danzig 3. And then How the Gods Kill, that's a great song too. Mindcrime is one of those albums, if I'm pulling an all-nighter, you know, like if I have them to drive overnight, which I haven't done in a while, that's the album I'll put on, because I could attempt to sing all the way through the whole album. I love that album. And you know, and singing keeps you awake, right? Korn had their own style, but their music was great. I've always been a fan because they brought something different to metal, which the older cats didn't like. Sam Hain, I've never listened to. Like, not like sought it out. I might have heard some like on a compilation or something. Typo Negative was a good live band, so unique. I've seen Typo Negative twice. Once they opened up for Pantera, and the second time I forget who they opened up for. The first time was in a big music hall, and that was great. It was a perfect atmosphere, perfect reverb. But the second time it was in a small club, and it wasn't as good. Oh, older Danzig is Sam Hain. He is. Steven Tyler is a knockoff version of Mick Jagger. He even had the scarves on the scarves thing. I don't understand the scarves. Oh, it's before Danzig and the Misfits. Okay. And I was in a band, we covered Twist of Cain. That's an easy song to play. I played drums on that song. But right now I listen to a lot of, like for example, today I was listening to Conan the Barbarian soundtrack. I've been listening to a lot of Wardruna, which is a Viking band. Not a Viking metal band, but a Viking band. Danheim is another one. Merker is a, you know, I've been listening to a lot of northern music. You know, I got the beard, might as well match it, right? Definitely more metal than Danzig. I just started getting into Black Flag with Henry Rollins. Thoughts? I'm not as familiar with Black Flag. My wife is a huge Henry Rollins fan, and we've seen him twice on his spoken word tour, which is interesting because he calls it spoken word, but a lot of it's like comedy, right? But it's not like comedy jokes. He just tells stories. He's a great storyteller. And, you know, and some of his books are pretty good, but his stories are great. So if you get a chance to see a spoken word, I highly recommend it. As far as his music, I have trouble getting into Henry Rollins. His song structure is kind of weird. And I've seen him once as a musician too. And my wife loved it. She was a Henry Rollins fan. And when he plays live, this is interesting. When he plays live, he is wearing nothing but like a pair of shorts, like from the 80s, like, so they're real short. Barefoot, no shirt, nothing. And he's literally like, you can make a swimming pool out of the sweat on stage because he's so intense. I don't know if he performs like that anymore or not, but he definitely put on a good show, I believe. And he doesn't take popular bands. The band that he was touring with, I absolutely despise them. But Rollins was good live. His music doesn't really do nothing for me, but his lyric message is not bad. Corrosion Conformity. This is a good game. I like this. We're talking about music. Corrosion Conformity. The only album that I own is Blind. Their earlier stuff is more punkish hardcore, and their newer stuff is more like bluesy kind of stuff. Stoner rock, I guess you would say. But the band that I was in at one time, not Apnea, but before Apnea, we covered Voting with the Freedom Pill. Don't want, you know, but the B word, right? We covered that song. It's actually a pretty fun song to play. But I believe the guy that did the vocals on that album or that song has passed away. Rob Halford is one of the best frontmans of all time, second only to Bruce Dickinson. And if you guys don't know, the guitarist of Judas Priest went and started his own band called KK's Priest. And they've got the guy that replaced Rob Halford for a minute, Ripper Owens, singing on that. That is really good stuff. I like Ripper Owens. I thought he was a perfect replacement for Rob Halford. A lot of people don't know this, but the movie Rockstar with, what's his name, the rap guy, that's actually based off the Judas Priest story at that time. Where they find a singer that looks and acts just like the singer, from a cover band. It's got Jennifer Aniston in that movie. But Judas Priest is like, yeah, this movie kind of sucks, so they didn't want to sign off on it. But they made the movie anyway and called it something else. What electric guitar is more well known, the red and white or the black and white? Not sure what you're talking about. I used to really dig Bolt Thrower, Carcass, and Surgery. So you're coming from the old school death metal. I've never heard of Surgery, but Bolt Thrower and Carcass, excellent bands. I've seen Carcass live, and I have not seen Bolt Thrower live, but War Master is a great album by Bolt Thrower. Carcass's best work was Heartwork. And the one before that, Necrotism. And then I did buy the Surgical Steel album, but it's one of those I don't listen to a whole lot. Alright, Robert Daniel, have a good night. Tool. John Kirkpatrick. Tool is one of my top 10. They hold a special place in me and my wife's hearts. My wife and I's hearts. Sorry for the bad English. And we got to see them live finally in Little Rock right before the bid stuff started to happen. Which one is more preferred by choice, the red and black or the white and black electric guitar? Oh, you got to talk brands. But yes, Tool is great. Tool's one of those bands that can do no wrong. And their albums are like journeys. And the newest album is no different. People are like, oh, Tool's so boring. They sound the same as they did 20 years ago. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? I like it when bands don't change sometimes. And as a band myself, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you change too much, people don't like that. But if you don't change at all, people are like, oh, it's just like AC/DC, same thing every time. But I like bands that you can rely on. Tool puts out an album, I know I'm going to like it. Cannibal Corpse puts out an album, I know I'm going to like it. AC/DC puts out an album, you know what you're going to get, right? I never saw Judas Priest, but I did see Halford when they returned for Resurrection. Not Fight, but the Halford band. It was basically a Rob Halford singing for a Judas Priest cover band is what it was. It was good though. It was better than Queensryche. But nothing could top Iron Maiden. No. No, Kenny, that can't happen. Should have bought more ice water. Didn't realize I was going to be here for a full 10-hour shift. I might have to walk up there here in a minute and see what's going on. Because there's definitely been a shift change. You guys are doing so good on the questions. Now you kind of backed off. There was rumors before the vid started that Iron Maiden and Judas Priest were going to tour together. That would be awesome. Do electric guitars need to be plugged into an amp in order to have the strings, hear the strings play? Yes and no. You're going to hear them, but not as loud. But not as loud as acoustic either. Now you have an acoustic electric, doesn't matter if it's plugged in or not. But for the most part, to hear the guitar in its fullness, you want it plugged in. But no, you can hear the strings by themselves without a pickup or anything. And you should not plug a bass into a guitar amp, because it'll blow the speakers. The frequency will blow the speaker. CKY, remember them? It was Bam's brothers. Bam, I like them. Oh, they're talking about. I walked in earlier to check out what was going on with this load, and it was like Twilight Zone. There was a dark storm rolling in, and the wind was picking up, and there was absolutely no one around for near 2 hours. You got to see Iron Maiden twice, says John Stroud in Orlando. I've seen them twice. The first time was in St. Louis at Riverside, and we got decent seats. The second time was in Tulsa at Bach Stadium. We had the nosebleed seats, and I've made a decision that the next time Iron Maiden tours, we will go see them, and I'll pay top money for the best seats. But the good part about being further back is you get the whole spectacle, right? You don't want to be too close to a big concert like Iron Maiden, but you definitely don't want to be like on nosebleed seats either. LA Guns used to have their practice space next to our carpentry shop in the late 80s. Wow. You know, the singer of Stryper put out an album with one of the guys from LA Guns. Have you heard that? I believe it's called something Sun. Something with the word sun in it. Sun? No. I can't remember. I heard AC/DC stopped performing because their live music was so loud they could not hear anymore. Ears were damaging. Is this true? The singer had hearing damage. So they actually had Axl Rose singing for them to finish out a tour. But since then, the singer got his ears worked on, and now they can tour again. And they were touring at the time that the vid happened. So, of course, after Malcolm Young died, you know, they got basically his son to play that guitar. And you know, so as long as Angus is kicking it, there'll always be an AC/DC. Skid Row's, I liked Skid Row's first two albums. I got into them before they hit it big. They were like an opening band for Bon Jovi, believe it or not. And I remember they were played on Headbangers Ball, but they were like one of the last bands because MTV didn't quite know what to do with them. But apparently they paid somebody, their management paid somebody good, because they went from the end of Headbangers Ball to the beginning. Next thing you know, their video was being played every day, and they kind of jumped into that. They were a hair band, but not quite a hair band kind of genre like Guns N' Roses. But I do have their self-titled on tape, I believe. Sometimes I feel like Donnie from The Big Lebowski. I just sit and listen, yeah. 94 minutes. Who do you think you are, OTJB? Oh, this is what happened. Murphy's Law is not happening tonight, I guess. I figured I would get, the minute I go live, they say, okay, go to door 3, whatever. But we can still keep going as long as you guys keep the conversation. You know, we've got 22 people, which I'm sure other YouTubers are laughing at me right now for my 22 people, but I appreciate every single one of you because I also have 22 thumbs up and $100 up there, so you guys are awesome. Do I like Van Halen? I like Edward Van Halen. He was a phenomenal player. If you look at the first album, the first two albums, there was a heavier an edge, a darkness to it, if you will. David Lee Roth, I am not a big fan of. There are some songs that he's awesome on, and then there are some songs I just wish he'd shut the hell up. So when Sammy Hagar joined, I was not one of these Van Halen purists that said that Sammy, you can't have Van Halen with Sammy. And if you listen to 5150 and watch the live shows, they were tremendously great. And Van Halen actually got a little bit heavier because now you had Sammy Hagar playing guitar as well. And their music actually became a little bit more intricate than with Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar has talked about that in interviews. And if you look at Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth now, you can tell who took care of their body. You can tell who took care of themselves. You can tell who took care of their personal and business lives, right? David Lee Roth has got the biggest ego, and I think that comes out on the album. So therefore, I don't appreciate Van Halen albums as much because of David Lee Roth. Forgive me, but who's Lydia Lunch? I have no idea who that is. I'm assuming a New York Dolls, right? Okay, she's probably a member of New York Dolls. I've never listened to the New York Dolls. But that's a good claim to fame. In Apnea, we got to open up for quite a few well-known bands. Most of them were pretty good to us. As the openers. And we opened up for Lamb of God, Soulfly, 6 Feet Under, Immolation, Metal Church, MOD. I want to say Hatebreed was a part of that show too, which I like Hatebreed. 3 Inches of Blood. Countless death metal bands. The disturbing trend about this customer is that for a while there was a convoy of trucks going to the docks, and I haven't seen an OTR truck go up to the docks in over an hour. So Eddie's son, his album is really good for today's rock band. So what's the name of that? I think Rick Rubin is best producer in music, period. He can do different types of music. Thoughts? I do respect Rick Rubin. Of course, you know, the band that he did was Slayer. But he also did the new Sabbath album, the latest Sabbath album, 13, which I despise that album. There's like 2 good songs on there. What he did on Metallica's Death Magnetic was awesome, because what he did was he forced Metallica to go back to their roots a little bit, and it shows on the album. He kind of wiped clean all the Bob Rockisms when they did that album. So I actually appreciate Metallica's Death Magnetic. Now, the stuff that he did with Johnny Cash is good, and if, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he also do Danzig's albums as well? You grew up with the Hatebreed guys? Awesome. Look, Jamie Josta is awesome. He was the perfect host for Headbangers Ball when they did that for a minute. And his lyrical content is just, it's very empowering. So actually, and Hatebreed was one of those bands that I heard and was like, yeah, they're okay. But then once I think Perseverance is the album that made me go, hey, I'm going to pay attention to this. And the song Perseverance is just like, it's such a simple riff, but it sticks in your head. Da, da, dun, da, da, dun, da, da, so I started getting into them, and then their newest album is really good. The lyrics I love Jamie's lyrics. I have Here Be Dragons. That was something I can look back with pride. Somewhere is a list of all the bands that we opened up for. Oh, hold on. Hello? Yes. Okay, thank you. I'll be right up. All right, guys. I got a door. So, you guys take it easy. And we're out. Peace.